Shalom, shalom. I'm going to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, whose true name is Yahweh, and in the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and his name is Hamashiach Yahawashah. All right, I'm going to be starting off with Matthew 5 and 17. Okay? Matthew 5 and 17, the words of our Messiah, the words of Christ. Okay, he said, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill." Okay, so Christ is telling you that he has not come to do away with anything that Moses and the prophets had said. He ain't come to destroy the law at all. Okay, and that's the words of Christ. He ain't come to destroy nothing or change nothing. All right, watch this. We're gonna get Peter. What Peter said. 1 Peter 2 and 21. 1 Peter 2 and 21. And it reads, "For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth." Okay, so Peter telling us that we should be mimicking ourselves after Christ because he didn't sin and guile wasn't in his mouth. So we shouldn't be following after other men as examples. We should be following after Christ. Okay, and that's Peter. All right, I'm gonna be starting off with Matthew 12 because Christians like to say, "Oh, Christ had broke the Sabbath." We're gonna read it and we're gonna examine the text. Okay. I'll try to get like 2 or 3 gospels to bring out the point more. Some gospels bring it out more than others. Okay, Matthew 12 and 1. At that time, Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were hungry, and began to pluck the ears of the corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, "Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day." But he said unto them, "Have ye not read what David did when he was an hungry, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of God and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither was for them which were with him, but only for the priests? Or have ye not read in the law how that on Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath, and are blameless? But I say unto you, that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy, and not sacrifice, ye would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day." Okay, what's going on here is that the Pharisees trying to get Christ and the disciples jammed up because they're trying to equate plucking corn and eating it is work. Okay, and the Pharisees know the law. Okay, they know the law. All right, but what Christ did in verse 3, he given more deeper points, like examples, like with David when he was on a run. Okay, him and his people were hungry, and they went to ask the priest. You can read about that account in 1 Samuel 21. But him and the disciples was on a run, and they asked the priest for showbread because they was hungry. It's not like David went in the temple and took the showbread and ate it. No, David wasn't moving like that. Okay, but we do know that the showbread is holy bread that's designated only for the priest. Okay, that's in Leviticus 24. But David did touch the ladder of the law. He did break the law because he wasn't supposed to eat the showbread, but yet he was blameless. Just like other examples, like what Christ brought out, he was getting to deeper points. Okay, like with the priests in the temple, they and other individuals, they broke the ladder of the law, but yet they were still blameless because the Most High didn't hold that against them. Okay, he didn't hold that against them at that time. Okay? And with that, I'm going to go to Mark. Another gospel. Another account on it. Mark 2 and verse, I'm going to start at 23. Mark 2 and 23. It say, and it came to pass that he went through the cornfields on the Sabbath day. And the disciples began as they went to pluck the ears of the corn. And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, why do they on the Sabbath day that which is not lawful? And he said unto them, Have ye never read what David did when he had need and wasn't hungry, he and they that were with him? Okay. Now, a question you would have to ask anyone is that, because if they say that because they plucked corn on the Sabbath is sin, you would have to ask them to show you in the law where plucking corn on the Sabbath and eating it is sin. Okay, they trying to make it like they were cooking corn. Christ and the disciples weren't cooking. Okay, but look here, verse 26. Watch what Christ said. Now he went into the house of God. Went into the house of God, Salakia, in the days of Abiathar, the high priest, and did eat the showbread, which is not lawful to eat, but for the priest, and gave also to them which were with him. And he said unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Okay? And therefore the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. Okay? So Christ and the disciples were traveling. Okay? They were traveling. And they were hungry. When they was in this cornfield and they were hungry, it ain't like they had bags and hundreds of corn and put it in bags and stuff. That'd be a different case. But it wasn't like that. They were preaching the gospel. They were teaching. They were traveling. And they walked in the cornfield and they seen corn and they plucked it and ate it. Okay? But the Pharisees was trying to say that was work. Okay? The Pharisee was trying to say that was work. Okay? The sign, what Christ was hitting on is that the Sabbath was made for, in verse 27, he was trying to break down a more excellent point. He was trying to say the Sabbath was, Christ was saying the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Sabbath wasn't just for one individual, or it wasn't for the children of Israel only. Okay? The Sabbath was made for everybody. It's a sign of refreshing. Okay? And we're going to be back to expound on that. I'm gonna bring out some precepts to back that up. Okay, and the next gospel I'm gonna go to is Luke. Luke 6 and verse 1. Okay, watch this here. And it came to pass on the second Sabbath after the first, that he went through the cornfields, and his disciples plucked the ears of the corn and did eat, rubbing them in their hands. And certain of the Pharisees said unto them, Why do ye that which is not lawful to do on the Sabbath days? Okay. And Jesus answering them said, Have ye not read so much as this, what David did when himself went hungry, and they which were with him? How he went into the house of God, and did take and eat the showbread, and gave also to them that were with him, which it is not lawful to eat, but for the priests alone. And he said unto them, The Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. Okay? So, the question you will have to ask anybody, show you in the law where plucking the ears of corn and eating it, rubbing them in your hands and eating it is breaking the law. It's nowhere to be found. It's nowhere to be found. Okay? But plucking corn is in the law. I'm going to go to Deuteronomy and see what the law says about plucking corn. Okay? Plucking the ears of corn. Deuteronomy 23 and verse 25. Watch this here. He say, the law say, When thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand. But thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbor standing corn. Okay? So in Matthew 12, Christ and the disciples were traveling. They were preaching. They was teaching and things. They were hungry, so they plucked the ears of the corn and they ate it. The Sabbath is a sign of refreshing. That's all. It's not a sin to eat. Okay? You can eat. They was trying to, the Pharisees was trying to say that they were breaking the Sabbath because they was eating on the Sabbath. They were plucking corns and eating it, plucking it. Okay? The law said we can. Okay? Let's go back to Matthew. Matthew 12 and 1. Okay? Watch this. Matthew 12 and 1. Okay? He say, at that time Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and the disciples were hungry. They were hungry and began to pluck the ears of the corn and eat it. Okay? So they were hungry. They plucked the ears, they ate it. Okay, it ain't like they were cooking. They were grabbing bags and bags of corn and they was gathering corn and wasn't trying to leave nobody nothing. They were being greedy. No, it wasn't moving like that. They were hungry. They were teaching, they were preaching, and they were traveling. Okay? That wasn't sin. Okay, they didn't break the Sabbath. Okay, I'm gonna go to Mark, because there's another point that Christ touched on. Okay, Mark 2 and verse 27. Okay, this is another important point. Okay, he said, and he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Okay, even from the time of Adam, the Sabbath was for everybody, everything. Okay, it was a day of rest. The Sabbath was a rest from servitude. Eating is not work. Okay, the Pharisees was coming up with all kind of spooky doctrines, even from the Talmud and all that other stuff. That's why he said philosophies and doctrines of man. Okay, that's what that was. Doctrines of man. The Pharisees was coming up with all kind of doctrines to try to bring in their own ways of doing things. Okay, but Christ was showing them that this is not in the law, man. This not what the law say. You can do certain things on the law. I mean, in the law, according to the law. Because we just showed you. In Deuteronomy 23 and 25, he said you could pluck the ears of the corn and eat it. Okay? Rub them in your hands. That's not work. Okay? That's not work. But I'm gonna get Exodus. Exodus 23 and verse 12. Exodus 23 and verse 12. Watch this. Watch what the law say about the Sabbath. It's very important to know this. 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. Okay? That's what the Sabbath was for everybody to be refreshed. Okay? Refreshed. Okay? From everything. Okay? It's not that the what they were trying to say, that the Sabbath was a burden. How is something that the Lord made for you a burden? Okay? The Sabbath is not a burden. Okay? It's for you to be refreshed, rejuvenated. Okay? Watch this here in Deuteronomy. Let me get Deuteronomy 5 and verse 12. Okay? Deuteronomy 5 and verse 12. He say, keep the Sabbath day and sanctify it. Okay? We are commanded to have the Sabbath day set apart. Sanctify means to set apart. As the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, 6 days thou shalt labor. Okay? Talking about work. Okay? Servitude. Okay? And do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work. Thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Okay? That's what Christ was hitting on. Now let's go back to Mark. Mark 2 and 27. Watch this. This is what Christ was talking about. So when he said, and when he said unto them, the Sabbath was made for the man and not man for the Sabbath, it was a refreshing for everybody to be refreshed. Okay? It was talking about servitude. Plucking corn and eating it is not serving. It's not work. Okay? It's for you to be refreshed. And Christ and them were hungry and they were refreshing themselves. Okay? And I hope this was edifying. Okay? And I'm going to end with Romans 10. I just showed that Christ and the disciples did not break the Sabbath. 10 and 1. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. And with that, I say shalom, family.